Inheritance, an Upper Earth novel. Chapter 1. Screed's Bargain. Screed threaded a path between piles of rubbish and empty beer cans, pausing from time to time to scrape leftovers from discarded chip wrappings. Occasionally he disturbed rats that beat a hasty retreat, disappearing into the blackness of the surrounding buildings. As he bent low over a plastic bin bag, he saw a massive rat only a few feet away. It reared onto its hind legs, ready to defend a half-eaten hamburger roll. Screed lifted his head, his tongue flicked out, and his hand shot forwards to catch the rat around its middle. The rat squealed, but there would be no escape from his claw-like fingernails. "Don't fret, dearie," he said in a soothing tone. "Dog eat dog, that's what I say." He snapped its neck, depositing its limp body into a heavy cloth bag. He sat back on his haunches, and a small grey mouse scampered from his pocket to perch on his shoulder. "My apologies, Alfred, but I have to eat, don't I?" The mouse raised its nose and sniffed the air. "Hungry, are we?" Screed pulled off a piece of bread from the roll and offered it. Taking the morsel, Alfred nibbled at it with the daintiness of royalty. Screed looked up at the night sky. Clouds, bulging with rain, blotted out the moon and stars. It was a perfect night for foraging in the city of Birmingham. Under the cover of profound darkness, he could wander as he wished in his favourite haunts, without fear of detection. With bulbous eyes and blackened teeth and a pockmarked face, all too often he had learnt that his features did not please upper earth folk. When he reached the end of the alley, he found the street empty. Scuttling across the damp tarmac, he wriggled through the deer-sized hole in the hedge that led to the park. From the undergrowth and bushes, he could sit for hours and watch the city dwellers going about their business. "Hush now, Alfred, what do we have here?" Screed said. Two youngsters were sitting on a bench close to his hiding place. Clad in leather, with dyed black hair, both displayed tattoos and piercings like the marks of a tribe. Screed stared at them. One was female, though her loose jacket and heavy black boots almost disguised it. "You coming or what?" said her friend, rising and kicking up gravel from the path with the toe of his boot. "I know you're not asleep." The girl didn't answer, or even open her eyes. He edged closer and screamed in her ear. She bent forwards and protected her ears with her hands, but still made no reply. The boy banged the back of the bench in frustration. "You're such a pain, Kath. I'm sick of your sulking." The boy paced a while behind the bench, as though waiting for a reaction, but none came. "I'm off," he muttered. "I'll see you back at the squat." At the Iron Park gate, he gave one last backwards glance before disappearing into the streets beyond. The figure on the bench didn't move. Among the rustling of the leaves in the night breeze, a melody floated. It came from the girl, Screed realised. She hummed such low, delicate notes that he could hardly hear. Yet the music crept over and around him until he could think of nothing else. When it stopped, Screed's voice was hardly a whisper. "Pretty little thing, isn't she, Alfred? The hooded one would be pleased with her. 'Get me a wife,' he says, 'and I'll let you go.' I'd do anything for that, Alfred. She wouldn't mind, would she? Could be his queen. I can just see her with a crown on her head." The mouse scrambled up Screed's lank hair for a better view. It squeaked approval. "Shh, now. Here's a chance, if ever I seen one." The girl had pulled her legs up onto the bench and curled into a fetal position as though sleeping. "Quietly does it." Screed pulled a small green bottle from his pocket and emptied a few drops onto a rag. Creeping forwards, he used the damp grass to muffle his steps. In his excitement, his breathing rattled in his chest, echoing in the emptiness of the park. "Kipper, get lost." Though the girl had spoken, her eyes remained closed. "Call that heavy breathing? A chihuahua could do a better impression of a werewolf than you." Almost level with the bench now, Screed paused and waited, like a hyena stalking its next meal. Then he closed the gap. Close enough to touch her by then, his movements were rapid. One hand pinned her head to the bench, while the other smothered her nose and mouth with the rag. Her arms and legs flailed, fighting against him, but with strong, muscular arms, Screed held her easily. In seconds she plunged into unconsciousness. Lifting his head, Screed checked that no one had heard. A dog barked in the distance, but otherwise the park and street were silent. He hauled the girl over his shoulder, grunting with the effort. Then he half carried, half dragged her, back through the hole in the hedge and across the road. Once he'd negotiated the alley, it would be easier. On the other side was one of the city's many canal sections, which he frequently used at night. At the end of the alley, the waterway's surface appeared black, except for the distant reflection of a street lamp. The industrial red brick buildings on every side made the canal a harsh, barren place, where even weeds had trouble laying their roots. Screed headed to a low arched bridge, where he'd left a small wooden boat. "Gently does it," he said, as he manoeuvred her body into the craft. He threw an old piece of sacking over her and pushed off from shore. Screed sang softly to the rhythm of the oars upon the water. They glided smoothly between the canal-side buildings where the old coal docks had once been. Next to an old building with boarded-up windows, he moored the boat at a wooden quay. "Welcome to Old Canal Station. All tickets one way," he announced, as though to a boat full of passengers. He plunged into a fit of giggles and sat on the edge of a quay for a moment, rocking back and forth with laughter. Shouts echoed from the direction of a nearby street, and his laughter ceased. "Shh, Alfred," he said to the mouse, whose head had popped out of the pocket of his long black coat. "Don't want to attract attention now. Best get her underground." He lugged her through what had once been a door, but was now just a gaping hole in the wall. He needed no light to find his way. So often had he trodden this path that he could have found his route blindfold. Inside the gloomy building, he veered left towards an archway. An ancient spell cast long ago ensured that prying eyes would only see a wall of bricks under the arch. Screed knew what the bricks concealed, a door to an underground passageway. He passed through, with no more sensation than that of a light wind resisting his body, and with him he carried the girl. Then there was only an inky black nothingness, until he produced a glass jar from his bag. "There we are, my beauties. It's time for a little light." He held the container up high, and within a number of fireflies woke from their slumber and began to crawl about. Almost immediately, a soft glow emanated from their delicate bodies, dimly lighting a man-sized tunnel around them. In some places, the walls were formed from rock, and in others, from compacted soil and stones. While the urban night outside seemed quiet, here the deep silence made even the slightest noise resound. Safe from city dwellers, Screed sat back to snack on the contents of his bag. The meal was a noisy one, and he finished with a voluminous belch to bless his full stomach. He threw the remaining bones onto a pile of waste in the corner where maggots feasted. Hunger satisfied, he took a length of twine from his coat pocket and shuffled closer to the unconscious girl. He gazed at her briefly before wrapping the twine around her wrists. Once her hands were securely bound, he settled down to wait, his back against the wall of the tunnel. Seconds crept into minutes, and minutes dragged into hours. When the girl's eyes eventually opened, they stared only vacantly at first. Then they focused on her surroundings, before settling on Screed, half hidden in the shadows. Where am I?" she asked. her eyes darting in every direction. She noticed the bindings on her wrists and strained to free them. "No sense in you struggling. You're with me now." Screed moved towards her. The girl screamed and scrambled backwards. "Get away from me!" "Don't make so much noise," he warned. "Don't want to draw attention to ourselves down here. I won't hurt you, if you behave yourself." "Who are you?" she said, wiping her tear-stained eyes with bound hands. "I am the ghost of the past, the present, and the future, all wrapped into one." He grinned at the cleverness of his own joke. "Not very original," she retorted. "You're not the only one to know the story of Scrooge." "No, but I'm a bigger nightmare than the ghost that haunted him," he crooned. "Time to get up now. Time to move." Screed reached out to take her arm. "Get off!" she shouted. "You touch me and you'll regret it. I'm protected." "Protected? I don't see no protection," declared Screed, looking left and right in a mocking way. "They don't need to be here," she replied. "Anyone that messes with our gang pays the price, sooner or later. Now, how do I get out of here?" "Listen here, dearie. Your gang don't exist down here. You're not going nowhere but where I tell you now. And believe me, you don't want to go running off." He lowered his voice to a sinister pitch and leaned a fraction closer. "There's much worse than me in these tunnels.